Good morning, guys. Welcome to the podcast. And I've got a really special guest for you today, Aletta from South Africa. And she helps entrepreneurs and the audience accelerate their career, get noticed, win that promotion, increase your salary. I'm really happy to have her on the show, especially for the female cohort audience listening, the executives, and really excited to get into the conversation. So, Aletta, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Very happy to be here with you.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself, and I'm excited to dive into the questions.
Absolutely. My name is Aletta Rochat. I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm just so happy to be coaching people. And primarily it is to make them more successful at what they do. And I've got a love of communication. I had a very nomadic childhood, and at a very young age, I learned that the way you communicate determines whether you make friends quickly or whether you're invited to birthday parties as a child. By the age of 8, I was in my third continent. I don't know what number school I was on, but I constantly had to settle into a new environment. And I learned very strategic communication skills as a result of that. And I've taken those skills now into my coaching practice, where I help people communicate in a way that resonates with others. And I call it executive presence. And it's the way you communicate. And if you do it right, it resonates with others. So you can sell your ideas, you can build thriving teams and be more successful at what it is you do.
Yeah, I really resonate with that story of learning early survival skills, and you can take it into your career. You briefly touched on it, and why is executive presence? Is it a skill? Is it a vibe? And why is it so crucial for career advancement?
To me, when I first started coaching, I started doing presentation skills coaching, and then I did interview skills training and coaching. And I kept on thinking, what I'm doing is more than that. It's more than just getting the presentation right. It's more than just getting the interview so you can get hired. And it's about how you present yourself, because even if you are hired, what do you do at your first meeting? How do you get people to listen to you? How do you get people to listen in a way that they want to take action on your ideas? And the way you present yourself, whether it's a one-on-one conversation, a telephone call, a video conference, if you can have executive presence there, and that just means that people listen when you speak, that your comment could perhaps change the course of a conversation or a discussion, or you can contribute, and it could be not only selling your ideas, it could be validating the ideas of others around the table. All of that makes you someone others want to work with and want to follow. And that is, to me, what executive presence is about. It's not about me. It's not about ego or identity. It's about my ability to be a catalyst for the success of the team I'm working in, the project, the company, whatever it is. But your executive presence, which is a learned skill, by the way, it's not something you're necessarily born with. But if you can have that self-awareness and awareness of others and the ability to communicate, you can really open doors and go far, even as an introvert. It's not limited to extroverts.
Yeah, I was actually gonna, the next question, which is really, that I recently finished this book, Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg, and he's describing what you're describing is like going into environments and communicating in a certain way. But for some of the audience, they are introverted, or they are neurodivergent, or they don't fit this corporate, naturally assertive type. So how can they start developing executive presence, the practical steps to start developing it?
I think in many ways, just like charisma, I've always been fascinated by the concept of charisma. And one of my favorite books is called The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox-Cabane. And there she says that the foundation of charisma is authenticity. It's not a dramatic skill. It's not performative. It's being who you are, but being self-aware enough to know that the way you communicate is important, and you've got to read the room, read those who are listening to you. And a good way to start is, first of all, by listening more than you speak, so that you can identify what's important to other people. But when I work with clients and coach them, one of the almost, I'd say 100% of the time, my starting point is helping you identify your superpowers. Because if you know what you're good at, it's more easily to articulate the value you can add to a project, to a team, to whatever it is. So understanding yourself and what you're good at and being articulate enough and confident enough not to be like salesy, look at me, I'm so good, but to say, I've got this superpower. This is what I'm really good at. This is how I can add value. How can I help? And that's a wonderful way to start a conversation and to position yourself as someone who's going to be a contribution to whatever it is you're working on.
And how does one go about identifying their superpowers, strengths? Is it through a personality test? Is it through a coach or mentor? If they're not very sure, if they're just starting out, walk us through how they can start identifying those powers.
Probably all of those things are a good start. The first thing that I'd say to you is, what do people ask you for help with? When they need something and they come and say, Chris, I know you can do this. Please help me. What happens is if you have a superpower and you're really good at something, our natural tendency is to trivialize that and say, oh, it's nothing. Because to you, it's easy. But to the rest of the world, they don't know how you do it so quickly or as easily or as well as you do. So that's your first clue. What do people come to you for help with? You can ask your friends and colleagues and family and ask them what they think you're good at. That's another clue. Another free online test that I recommend is called the High Five Test, HIGH, the numeral 5, highfivetest.com. And they give you your top 5 tests. And what I love about it is top 5 strengths, I beg your pardon. They give you the narrative, a short paragraph of how you can describe how that adds value to a team or a project. So that's a good starting point, because once you know what your strengths are, you can start saying, this is what I'm good at. How can I help? And how can I add value? And let me show you how. So that becomes a natural conversation once you can identify and speak about the things that you are good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next question I have for you is, we have these skills and what I'm always curious how the top individuals or performers think. And so what my characteristics or shifts are necessary to align one's skills with career goals and fast track their journey to either middle management, C-suite, or entrepreneurship. Enlighten us.
The first thing is clarity. What is it? Where do you want to go and why? Why is it important to you? And the why is important because inevitably there's effort required to get to the next level. But I'll share with you something that profoundly changed the way and helped me get to the next level. I was running for an election for a nonprofit organization, and I had many calls with many people who were past leaders and asked them at the end of the conversation, what's one thing that I must remember in this journey? And this mentor of mine said to me, remember that you belong. And that to me was a profound utterance, because if I took that to the next step, if I belonged at that higher level, how would I think? How would I approach this problem? What questions would I be asking? How would I show up at a meeting? How would I speak up at a meeting? So it's almost fast forwarding yourself to that future point where you want to be and already imagining yourself there and doing what it takes to consider things from that level. And if you do that often enough, you start, and you can watch the people around you who are already at that level, learn from them, but then start doing those same things yourself. So you get a broader, more strategic perspective because you're thinking from a higher level. You are giving yourself permission to belong. You're not waiting for someone else to say to you, okay, Chris, it's time. You can belong now. You're proactively giving that to yourself, and you're acting from that space with quiet confidence, just being you, but you're just elevating your thinking. And that to me was a real game changer. And I've shared it with many of my clients. And it's such a simple concept. And if you can just remind yourself of that again and again, I think inevitably it raises your thinking and the way you act and speak up and show up.
Mm-hmm. That was another colleague of mine and also a coach. Also, that's some of the best advice is you belong and you deserve this. And that was very profound because my default thinking was like I was always the outsider, because it can shift everything. The next question I have for you is, we can develop these skills, and I recently finished a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, talking about high stake environment, high emotions, a lot of money, lives are on the line, and can develop these skills. But how do we apply these skills in these really high, fast paced, dynamic, pressure, competitive environments?
That's a really good question. So often, what trips us up is not our skills or our expertise, it's our mindset. So, going into that high stakes meeting or negotiation, what is your mindset? And what I've learned and what I coach my clients with uh, is to develop an equal to mindset. So, you're not going in desperate for something to happen or worried about a challenge or worried about a criticism. You're going in with a mindset, I am equal to this. And I'm going in with that confidence that I'm equal to the opportunity. I'm equal to the characters in the room. I've done my homework. And of course you have, you're not winging it. And you take that calm mindset and there's certain techniques you could do just before a meeting. And that is just to breathe and put your attention in your body, not your head. Bring it down to your body and stay there. Stay in that grounded space. And then take that equal to mindset and everything else, all your superpowers and everything that you're taking with you, you're going in with that mindset. And that in itself will calm you and ground you so that you can think clearly in that moment. Because if you're going in anxious, then you're likely to speak too quickly or not listen or not. You want to respond with wisdom. And to access your wisdom, you need to be relatively calm. So do things that calm you and ground you and take that equal to mindset into that high stakes situation.
And how does one begin to navigate? Every corporation, company is different. It has politics. It has people have different interests, both personal and vested interests. So what strategies can professionals use to navigate the corporate politic environment, attract senior management and attention, and build influence within an organization?
That was probably the thing that I struggled with the most in my early career was just navigating the politics. I found it exhausting. The hierarchy told you very little about what was really going on. There were power plays and influences and networks. And I think the best way to approach that, number one, is to trust yourself. You don't know it all, but trust yourself and build relationships one-on-one. And the relationships you need that are most important are not always with the chief executive officer. Sometimes it's with an executive assistant or someone who's a networker within the company. So build a multitude of good relationships, and you do that just by being a good, kind person, a polite person, not being a diva, not strutting your stuff and wanting everyone to be scared of you. Just build solid relationships and do that consistently, and that'll help you. And one of the most profound ways I found to, number one, find out information, and number two is to build relationships. When I am dealing with a colleague or a superior, doesn't matter who it is, and I happen to be on a call with them, one of the first things I'll say to them is, how's life as and put in job title, treating you? How's life as an executive presence or executive assistant treating you? How's life as a chief financial officer treating you? And then keep quiet. And you'll be amazed what people share based just on the fact that you're asking them that question. So you're building relationships one conversation at a time, and hopefully that helps to decode the politics. But trust yourself. You just be you and just be consistent, be authentic, and you'll navigate the politics. It's not that it doesn't mean the politics go away, but hopefully you build a relationship of trust with those around you that helps you navigate those politics.
Interesting. And an adjacent question I have for you is a lot of people they've climbed, at a certain level, and either they get stuck or it doesn't go anywhere. They hit that glass ceiling. What are really common reasons for this phenomenon, and helping people overcome it? I see this quite often.
Yeah, a lot of my clients come to me when they're in a position where they want to make a career transition, and then many reasons that you hit that glass ceiling. And sometimes it's got nothing to do with you. Sometimes it's just a set of circumstances that come together. The question is, how are you going to handle it? How are you going to navigate your way through it? Because the danger is if you see no room to improve or to progress, that you lose motivation and then you start performing at a lower level. And, that in itself is an issue. you've got to then redefine your goals. If that glass ceiling is real and it's not going to shift for you, where else could you go? How could you get there? But being intentional and being focused. I did a challenge with my group coaching clients recently where we had a laser-like focus, because so often we want something, but there's so much else going on that we take a stab at it here and there, but we don't make consistent progressive action. And we did a 2-week sprint of laser focus on one issue. And that was profound because I did it with my clients. And I couldn't believe how that laser-like focus on one issue can shift the dynamics. So you've got to reassess if there's a plateau, if there's any barrier to you progressing and it's a dream of yours to go further. Reassess, reprioritize, set your intentions, and again, set the laser-like focus. And often doing that somehow attracts more opportunity to you. So there's no silver bullet answer to this, but you've got to be very present and very intentional. What is it that you want? And what are you prepared to do to get there? And then take the next steps based on those answers to those questions.
Yeah. I know we're coming to the end of the conversation, and want to ask the final question is, how do these strategies differ from, for example, because you help a lot of professional women or minorities or neurodivergent or creatives, people that kind of don't fit that mold, what particular challenges and how can they add diversity to the management and senior management and executive leadership roles in a company?
It's a question very near and dear to my heart, Chris. I think that the first thing I would say to anyone who doesn't fit the mold, and all of us in some way or shape don't fit the mold. So you've got to celebrate who you are and see that not as a barrier, but see that as a unique gift. So what can you do that somebody else can't do because you're neurodiverse, because you're different, because you think differently? That isn't necessarily something that holds everybody else back. That could be a unique perspective that we need to hear if we were talking about being part of a team. So you're there for a reason, and you're there to speak up, and your unique story, your unique perspective is something that everybody else can benefit from. So share it in a way that resonates with others and help them see that you can help. You can be a contribution. You can be a catalyst for change because you are that unique individual. If we were all the same, then our thinking would be all the same and innovation would go, it wouldn't last. But my attitude is, I want to hear from you, because only then when I've heard from you can I understand where you're coming from and how you can help us solve the problem. And in my world, the more people we have looking at a problem, speaking up, the better chance we have of finding a solution that takes us forward. So always speak up, let them know what you're thinking, but do it in a way that hopefully they ask you to tell them more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can people find out more about you and reach out to you and inquire about your services, coaching, and so on?
One of the easiest ways is to connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a personal message with that connection request so that I know where you're coming from. And I'd love to have a conversation to find out if what I do can help you and serve you. And I'm not sure about that until we have the conversation. My website, AlettaRochat.com, is another option. But if you're short of time and you can't remember how to spell my name, just look it up in the show notes, go to LinkedIn, and I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, excellent. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I encourage the audience to reach out to Aletta and check out her socials, give them a follow, and reach out to her. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for everything you do for